we enter the later stages of life, many of us believe that the best form of security comes from being close to our families, especially our children. But let me ask you this. What if that closeness is actually making you feel more vulnerable and helpless in the end? It's a hard question, but one that deserves attention. We often think that living near our children as we age will strengthen our bond, that proximity automatically equals support and love. However, emotional connection doesn't always follow physical closeness. Sometimes being too close can actually create emotional distance. When parents expect their presence alone will keep their relationships strong, they may unintentionally diminish the quality of those relationships. Constant proximity can start to feel more like a routine or obligation rather than a meaningful connection. Over time, both parents and children may start to feel drained or underappreciated, turning what should be a loving relationship into one weighed down by silent expectations. True connection in any relationship requires more than physical closeness. It thrives on mutual respect, effort, and meaningful communication. Sometimes a little distance can help keep the bond fresh, ensuring that time spent together is truly valuable. Let's embrace the idea that maintaining respect and independence is key to enjoying richer, more fulfilling relationships with our loved ones in our later years. In our society, there is a common belief that growing older means needing to be closer to our children for support and security. Many believe that the physical proximity to family in one's later years guarantees love, care, and assistance. However, this approach might not always bring the expected benefits. While being near family can provide a sense of security, it doesn't automatically create a deeper emotional connection. Sometimes, what we assume is helpful can actually lead to feelings of dependence, frustration, and even isolation. The act of moving closer to children might seem like a way to safeguard one's future, ensuring that there will always be someone to lean on. This is true in some cases. However, when parents rely too much on their children for day-to-day tasks like running errands or providing companionship, it can unintentionally erode their sense of independence and self-worth. Independence, after all, is a fundamental aspect of human dignity. When it starts to slip away, it can leave parents feeling helpless rather than empowered. There is value in maintaining a sense of autonomy, even in later years. It allows individuals to retain control over their choices and their lives, fostering a sense of purpose and self-respect. For many elderly parents, moving closer to their children might seem like the solution to ensuring they are cared for during difficult times, but it should never come at the cost of losing their own agency. This loss doesn't happen all at once. It starts with small acts, like needing a ride or asking for help with daily chores. Over time, these seemingly minor tasks add up, and a person can begin to feel as though they no longer control their own life. To preserve dignity in old age, it's essential for parents to continue making choices for themselves, even when things get tough. If children start to take over decision-making, it can unintentionally lead to a shift in the parent-child relationship. Instead of being partners in life, the relationship might become one of dependency, with the child inadvertently taking on the role of caretaker. This shift can cause emotional distance, as parents may feel their voice and their identity are being overshadowed by the well-meaning efforts of their children. It's important to remember that emotional fulfillment and connection do not come solely from physical proximity. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, understanding, and appreciation for one another's individuality. Sometimes, a little space can actually strengthen the bond between family members. By maintaining their independence, parents can continue to feel valued and respected rather than burdened by the expectations of their children. Children, in turn, can enjoy the freedom to nurture their own lives without feeling pressured by obligations. In the end, the most robust relationships are those that are based on choice, not duty. By fostering an environment of respect and understanding, both parents and children can continue to grow together without losing sight of the importance of mutual care. Old age doesn't have to mean relinquishing control. It can be a time for growth, self-discovery, and deeper connection. By preserving a sense of autonomy and independence, parents can maintain their dignity, and children can cherish their relationship with them for years to come. The most tragic aspect of this dynamic is that, often, neither side intends for things to unfold this way. Parents who feel animosity or resentment might not intend to become a burden, yet as they age, they begin to rely more heavily on their children, unknowingly altering the nature of their relationship. On the other hand, children who initially act out of love might gradually feel a sense of obligation, which can turn into personal sacrifices over time. This shift in dynamics can make the relationship feel transactional rather than loving, where parents might begin to feel entitled to care and attention, while children may feel obligated to provide it. The key to nurturing a healthy relationship between parents and children is liberty, the freedom to interact out of love, not out of duty. When parents maintain their own interests and independence, they not only preserve their dignity, but also allow their children to appreciate their presence rather than feeling burdened by it. This helps remove the weight of expectation, allowing the relationship to flourish naturally. With this freedom, both parents and children can continue to nurture each other in a way that respects personal boundaries and independence. When elderly parents move closer to their children, they might unintentionally disrupt the natural development of the children's own lives. Adults have established their own routines, relationships, and family dynamics. Introducing an older parent too physically close can subtly affect this balance, causing tension that could have been avoided. What began as a desire for connection can, over time, turn into an interference, leading to potential conflicts. One common issue arises when an aging parent, now living nearby, becomes involved in daily life in ways that cross boundaries. For example, unannounced visits or unsolicited advice can cause friction between the child and their partner. The child, who is already balancing work, parenting, and other obligations, might begin to feel overwhelmed by the added responsibility of caring for their aging parent. This dynamic can create animosity, especially if the child feels torn between fulfilling their duties to both their spouse and their parent. Moreover, when parents are actively involved in the lives of their grandchildren, even though this can be a positive influence in moderation, it can also lead to disagreements on parenting styles. Differences of opinion about discipline and behavior can become a source of tension, creating rifts between generations. What was intended as support can turn into a point of conflict, undermining the relationship between parent and child. Another challenge arises when an elderly parent unintentionally hinders the personal development of their child. If a parent consistently looks to their adult child for emotional support, decision-making help, or companionship, it can subtly pull the child back into a role they have outgrown. This prevents the child from fully embracing their own adult life as they continue to feel responsible for their parents' happiness. Instead of moving forward and pursuing their own goals, they may find themselves rooted in the past, unable to take full advantage of the opportunities life offers. It is important to recognize that while it's natural for parents to want to remain close to their children, maintaining proximity should not come at the expense of disrupting their children's healthy, independent lives. Relationships require space, respect, and the freedom to navigate life individually. By setting appropriate boundaries, parents can ensure that their presence is a positive force rather than a source of frustration. As we grow older, it's natural to seek companionship, encouragement, and guidance from our families. Parents may feel that their later years should revolve around their children and grandchildren, believing that they are the primary focus of family life. While this is true to an extent, it's crucial not to depend entirely on children for fulfillment. A meaningful life in old age is one that is free from dependence, where family ties are essential but not the sole source of joy. When parents pour all their energy into their children, they may unintentionally neglect their own personal development. They might stop seeking new experiences, friendships, or pursuing passions they once loved. Ensuring personal growth and well-being alongside family connections is key to maintaining happiness and a strong sense of self in later years. Joy in this type of reliance can leave a hole in a parent's life, making them feel unfulfilled when their children are busy with their own responsibilities. A parent who lacks a life outside of their family may unintentionally place emotional strain on their children, expecting constant participation and attention. Even if unspoken, this pressure can cause conflict and guilt rather than fostering a natural, loving relationship. Building a fulfilling life involves maintaining social connections, pursuing hobbies, and staying active both physically and mentally. Friendships with peers provide companionship that children who lead similar lives cannot always offer. Engaging in community activities, whether through volunteering, clubs, or religious organizations, creates a sense of connection and purpose. Whether they are learning new skills or simply traveling for pleasure, these activities keep the mind engaged and the spirit fulfilled. These pursuits not only enrich a person's life, but also make them more interesting and engaging to their children, who see them as dynamic individuals rather than dependents. Ironically, by focusing on their own happiness, parents enhance their bond with their children. When a parent leads a fulfilling life, visits become a source of joy rather than obligation. Conversations are more engaging, and time spent together is valued. The parent remains a revered figure in their child's life, someone to respect, not someone seen as responsible for managing their own happiness. Living independently is not about distancing from family. It's about preserving one's dignity and personal fulfillment. A strong sense of self leads to healthier relationships, where love grows naturally without being motivated by guilt or obligation. One of the toughest challenges parents face is accepting that their children are meant to create lives separate from them. From the moment a child is born, parents feel an instinct to protect, nurture, and guide. Many parents find great meaning in this role, which is deeply ingrained in their identity. However, as children become independent adults, the healthiest thing a parent can do is to let them go. Not out of fear or sorrow, but with love, trust, and the assurance that they will return on their own terms. Clinging too tightly, both physically and emotionally, can strain relationships rather than supporting them. When parents expect their children to maintain constant contact or provide continuous help simply because they are family, the relationship shifts from one of choice to one of obligation. Love at its purest is freely given, not compelled by pressure. If children feel forced to interact out of obligation rather than desire, the relationship can turn hostile, repetitive, and guilt-driven, instead of nurturing a meaningful, loving connection. Recognizing that a child's joy may not always align with a parent's expectations is an important part of understanding the life cycle. Children must be allowed to make their own decisions, form their own families, and design lives that reflect their personal aspirations. This is not a rejection of the parents, but a natural part of life. Parents who fail to acknowledge this process often find themselves pushing their children away, unintentionally smothering them with demands that feel restrictive instead of supportive. By focusing on their own growth and well-being, parents set a powerful example for their children. They show that life doesn't end with retirement, that fulfillment can be found at any stage, and that love is most powerful when it is given freely. By maintaining their independence, parents give their children the freedom to follow their own paths without shame, bitterness, or anxiety. In the end, the most meaningful relationships are built on mutual respect and freedom. A young person who is allowed to live their own life will return, not out of duty, but because of love. Thank you for letting go. It's not about losing your child. It's about giving them the space to grow into their intended selves, while ensuring that your own life remains rich, purposeful, and fulfilling.